We'll do a review in Likutei Sichos in Chelek Chof Gimel, volume 23. This is the second Sicha for the Parshas Balak. A very lengthy, interesting discussion in the Sicha whether there will be nations of the world in the futures, in the days of Mashiach. What's going to happen with all the nations of the world? The Rebbe initially brings down two interpretations of the Parsha in which it says V'karkar kol b'nei sheis. There's a difference. Karkar means to dominate the b'nei sheis, meaning the nations of the world, or does karkar mean to destroy, that there will be no more nations of the world? The Rebbe goes into a lengthy explanation that we find is similarly to opinions, but how could this possibly be? The Rebbe asks that there's going to be no nations of the world when we know in all the prophecies it says very clearly that there will be nations over there, and the Rebbe further brings down the prophecy of Zechariah and the different mefarshim over there, and there too there is two possibilities to learn whether nations of the world will remain or not. But after the Rebbe brings down in Halacha and in the Rambam, the Rebbe says quite clearly, it states that the nations of the world will be there at the whole Arichas. But at the end of the day, the Rebbe's explanation is that there is no question physically there will be the nations of the world. The question is, what's going to be the status? Is the redemption, Mashiach's coming, a redemption for the Yidden only, and as a result, as a secondary, in order to have a full redemption for the Yidden, there needs to be also the Goyim over there, so they're just as a secondary to the Yidden, or the Goyim themselves have their own redemption as well, independently of the Yidden. And the Rebbe also explains this, and the Rebbe also explains in the end, according to Chassidus, that it's actually both levels will take place both at the same time, because in the level of recognition of Hashem as it comes, there will be a recognition the way it comes by a Yid and then by a Goy. A very interesting, lengthy discussion, but we'll do step by step. And Bezrat Hashem, we will have an understanding of the Rebbe's idea over here. So first, the Rebbe starts off with the Parsha, in where we have the two interpretations. What's the meaning of Karkar Kol B'nei Sheis? Aleph. In der letzter Nevuah von Bilam beParsha Seinu, in the last prophecy, there's a lot of prophecies of Bilam and the Parsha, the last one in our Parsha, mainly that discusses the time, what's going to be in the time after Mashiach comes. As the Pasuk says, it's going to be Ba'achris Hayomim. Told Bilam said to him, let me tell you what's going to happen at the end of days of Mashiach. U'b'lashoin haRamban, the Ramban's language is V'hanevua hazois L'mois HaMashiach. This prophecy is for the days of Mashiach. But this is their teichen. This is the contents in the pasuk, in the prophecy. It says, Dorach koichav miyakov, become shevet miyisrael. A star will step forward from Yaakov, and that star referring to the Melech HaMashiach, or in both Shnei Mashiachim, as the Rambam says, but become shevet miyisrael, a ruler will stand up from the Yid. This is referencing the time of Mashiach and the King Mashiach, Hainu Melech HaMashiach, which is the King Mashiach. That's the Dorach Koich Yaakov. And then what does the pasuk conclude? Firt ois der pasuk. So the pasuk concludes, it says, Umochatz pasei Moav, he will crush the edges of Moav, the karkar kol b'nei sheis. So b'nei sheis, of course, that's the sheis, the son of Adam, which means all human beings. So that would mean basically what's going to happen to all mankind? Gefindt man bechlolus zwei perushim. Generally, we find two interpretations of what it means. V'karkar kol bnei sheis. Aleph, the Targum Onkelos Taich, the Onkelos Targum translate the Yishloit b'chol bnei Anosha. He will dominate this, the Koichov and the Shevet Yisrael. Mashiach will dominate all mankind. But that basically means that there will be mankind, there will be all the nations of the world, and just that Mashiach will dominate them. That's the Pirush interpretation of the Targum Onkelos. But base, we have another interpretation that Evan Ezra is Mefarish. He is Mefarish the word Vekarkar Kemoy Mekarkar Kir, which is a posik in Yeshayach of Beis Hey. And he says, Vatam Hoides, and the reason there means destruction, which means Vekarkar means to destroy Kol B'nei Sheis, all mankind. Das heißt, an Inyan von Heres V'chur means destruction and to take them away. So there will be no more. There will be a Heres V'churban. And Azoy Zoich Mashma, so that's the Ebenezer, but Azoy Zoich Mashma from Targum Yonus and Ben Oziel, the Targum of Yonus and Ben Oziel and Targum Yerushalmi, was indeed Targumim in these translations, these Targums, Yonus and Ben Oziel and Yerushalmi is the Mudgish, der Bittel V'hariga from the Umis. Over there it's emphasized the negation, the doing away and the killing of the nations, basically that the nations of the world will be all destroyed by Melech HaMashiach. Karkar Kol B'nei Sheis, that's the way to touch it. So l'chayre is mashma, so it would seem from this, as the Tzvei Pirushim Zayin and Mechuluk in them, what are the two interpretations? What are they disagreeing over here? Whether there will remain nations of the world in the future to come. Are they going to be dominated, or they're going to be destroyed? But the Rebbe says, is Tamua, that's very surprising. It's the Rebbe's question. How could it possibly be that all the nations of the world will be destroyed? How is it fit to say, as la'osid love in the future to come, that there's going to be a destruction of all of these sons of Sheis, a hashmoda fun alle umis, a destruction and the wiping out all nations. There are very clear prophecies in many places about the nations and the nations in the future to come. There are plenty of prophecies which indicate that there is going to be the beginning of Yeshayahu. The pasuk says there in the end of days, the mountain where the house of Hashem will stand will be prepared. And all the nations will flow, go there. Many nations will say, and they will say, let's go up, and he's going to judge amongst the nations, and he's going to rebuke too many nations. This is all in that prophecy. So the Nevuah Besim Yeshaya, the Nevuah and the end of Yeshaya, this is in Perek Samach Vav, Pasuk Ches and on. So in the end of the book of Yeshaya, over there it says, the Kabetz is called Hagoyim V'Alishoinus, to gather in all the nations, all the languages, they will come and they'll see my glory, my honor. And they will relate my honor to the nations. They'll bring all about the nations doing and bringing and serving and coming to the base. I mean, all these prophecies. Also the prophecy, which is In Svanya, over there it says, "As epich el amim sofa berura." I'm going to turn around to the nation a very clear language. Likre kulam b'shem havaya love the shechem echad. Everybody's going to serve Hashem, to serve one shoulder together. And likewise in many places in the prophets. So we find very clearly that there's going to be goyim, nations of the world, in the time of Mashiach. How could we say, how could they have an Ezra translate and the seemingly also the others, as the Rebbe will bring down, how could they possibly say that there's not going to be nations of the world in the time of Mashiach? So now the Rebbe is going to bring down in another place. So this would be a kasha on the Eben Ezra, because it's even though the Targum Yonis ben Uziel, the Targum Yerushalmi also implied that there's going to be destruction of the nation, but the Eben Ezra is the one that says it very clearly that they will destroy all the nations. It brings down the karkar, means heres, the means the destruction of them. So it seems like a big kasha on the Targum Yonis ben Uziel. But the Rebbe is going to say now, it seems like the Targum Yonis ben Uziel has support from a posik in Zechariah, which almost implies also the same thing, that the nations of the world will be destroyed. There's two Pirushim there too. Let's look inside. Base. In Zechariah is done Nevuah. There is a prophecy in Zechariah. Over there it says, V'hoya b'chol ha'oretz ne'um Hashem. And this will be in all of the land, says Hashem. Pish nayim ba, 2/3 in it, in the land. Yikaresu yigvo, will be cut off, will expire, basically will be gone. V'hashlishis, but 1/3, yivaser ba, will be left in the earth, of the world. There will be 1/3 left. 2/3 of the world will be gone, and 1/3 will be left. Zoktev them their medrash. So the medrash says about this, that which is the third part of the world that is going to remain. The medrash says, as the drit chelek, Hashlishis, the third, the 1/3 that is going to remain, was Vedleiben, that is going to remain, Eli Yisrael, those are the Yid. So Kumtoi, so we see from this medrash, based on the pasuk of Zechariah, as Laosid Love Velun Umes Yikoresu V'Yigvo, that in the future, the nations of the world will be cut off and will expire, will no longer be. So this seems to be a source for the Eben Ezra. But the Rebbe argues, okay, but how we just removed, we say it's not the Eben Ezra, but it's a pasuk that he has. But the question, how are we going to reconcile that pasuk with all the other prophecies in the Yeshaya and the other in Tzifanya and in other prophecies? How are we going to reconcile it? Ufizeh. So based on this medrash and this pasuk, is there pirush Eben Ezra in the karkar kol bnei shei? So the Eben Ezra's interpretation of the karkar kol bnei shei loider nevuah nal in Zechariah. So it fits with the above mentioned prophecy in Zechariah. But that doesn't answer, that answers the Eben Ezra that it's not the Eben Ezra himself, but he has a pasuk and a medrash to base it on. But this just replaces the question where to ask it on. So now we have the question, instead of the Eben Ezra, we have the question on the medrash and this pasuk. Vishtim the nevuah in Zechariah. How does this prophecy in Zechariah fit with the ribu nevuah hanal, with the many prophecies that I mentioned before, as leosid lovei velon zayin umas v'goyim, that in the future to come there will be nations, there will be other nations, there will be goyim. How does it fit if only once the shlishis, the third that's going to be left, is going to be the Yid? And the Rebbe brings further down that actually it seems like in the Gemara, there may also be an interpretation in the Gemara that whether the meaning of the Shlishis Ba means Yidden. So even in the Gemara, there is such an opinion, seemingly, that only Yidden will remain. But as we'll see, but still, this doesn't really answer the question. But aber in Gemara is a plukta zwischen Reish Lakish and Rabbi Yochanan. In the Gemara, we have a disagreement between Reish Lakish and Rabbi Yochanan. And we'll have to see how to learn Pshat in that Gemara. When the Gemara brings down in the Pirush Fun Hashlishis Bo Yivoser, what in Sanhedrin, what does it mean a third will remain? A third in the land will remain. What is the third? Reish Lakish zokt Shlishi shel Shem. He said a third means of the children of Shem. Shem, of course, is the source of the Jewish people, of Avram Avinu, and the Jewish people. So that would seem that it's a third of Shem that will remain. Amalei Rabbi Yochanan, so Rabbi Yochanan says to Reish Lakish, Lo nicha lemorayu, the amrit luhu hachi. Our master is not comfortable, is not happy that this is the way you say it, that it only means a third of the Yidden. Elafilu shlishi shel noyach, even a third of noyach will also be there, remain. So it's not just a third of the sons of Shem that will remain, but also a shlishi, a third of the children of Noach, which includes humanity, they will also remain. So there is a interpretation in the Rishonim that's from the Yad Rameh, who says, as the plukta zwischen Reish Lakish and Rabbi Yochanan is, what is the machlokes between Reish Lakish and Rabbi Yochanan? See, euch ha'olam werden nichlal in der Shlishis Yivaserba. Are the nations of the world included in the third that will remain? So there will be, in the third that remains, there will be also the nations of the world. Und Rabbi Yochanan, so when Rabbi Yochanan says that he's not happy, the Eibishter is also cares about the nations of the world, that they too will remain. They should not be cut off. A third includes a third within the Umm as well. Okay, so we have a Gemara that seems to also bring down two opinions, whether it means the going to. But es bleibt schwer, that's maybe according to Rabbi Yochanan, but according to Reish Lakish, we just said that he says that only the Yidden, only the Shem will be survive, but not the nations of the world. So as bleibt aber schwer to say the end after the brackets over here. Leut Reish Lakish, according to Reish Lakish, so Mele, according to Rabbi Yochanan, it fits. Okay, not the nations of the world are not going to be destroyed. But according to Reish Lakish, is lekula alma velen alle umes olam nichlas werden yigavo. According to him, he believes that, according to all opinions, according to Reish Lakish, he doesn't matter karka b'nei sheis or whatever. But I wonder what the Rebbe means here with the lekula alma, which is the lekula alma. We take a look in the Gemara. But so let's look in the bracket here. So what is the difficulties that we have after the Gemara? First of all, according to Reish Lakish, they'll all be destroyed. So since they'll all be destroyed, so why do we how could we say that? How does it fit with all the prophecies that said that it will be going? That's the difficulty, according to Rish Lakish. But Noisef Lozaz lit andere meforshim v'chein masma pirush Rashi. This is it's other meforshim, and also it's mashma from Rashi's commentary. Is plukta blois benegayet zu yidden, that their argument is just about the yidden, the disagreement from Rabbi Yochanan and Rish Lakish is only with regard to the yidden. See, euch Iden werden nichlal in dem Tishnayim bo yikoresu. The fact that we say we're talking about 2/3 will be destroyed. So over there, the question is who is going to be destroyed? Whether also the Yidden are included in Pishnayim bo yikoresu, that 2/3 of the Yidden will be destroyed. Und das, was Rabbi Yochanan sagt, and when he says that Elafilu Shlishi Shel Noach means that that Yidden will remain. So the way the Rebbe brings it down over here, it's a little bit struggling a little bit to understand it clearly, but it seems to me like this. So first, the Rebbe brings down the Gemara. Why does he bring down the Gemara? To show us, according to one pshat, that this is actually the issue in the pasuk over there, that this is a machlokes between Rabbi Yochanan and Reish Lakish, if any of the goyim will be around. So when the pasuk says Shlishis Yivoser Bo, so there is a machlokes. Who is this third that we're talking about? According to Reish Lakish, it's only Yidden, meaning there will be no goyim, because they're all included in the 2/3 that'll be destroyed, and the third that will remain is only Yidden. And according to Rabbi Yochanan, no, that the third that will remain is also going. So therefore, what the Rebbe is trying to say, so while we can see that according to Rabbi Yochanan, there will be goyim, the way he says that a third will remain, that it includes goyim too. So at least according to Rabbi Yochanan, we don't have a problem with all the nevuas, because there will be goyim, and they won't be all cut off. But still, the Rebbe says we still have a problem according to Reish Lakish, because according to Reish Lakish, he says that all of the nations will be cut off, and only the Yidden will remain. I'm still not clear exactly what the Rebbe means here with the Kula Alma. It's not according to Reish Lakish's opinion. I would the Kula Alma means according to all Meforshim, because in Rabbi Yochanan we have two opinions. That's why over here the Rebbe says the Kula Alma. In Rabbi Yochanan, we're not sure whether Rabbi Yochanan says that the nations will survive. This that we said the nation would survive is only according to the Pirush and the Rishonim of the Yad Rameh in his interpretation, in the second interpretation. But according to Reish Lakish, according to the other interpretation, Okay, I'm gonna reread from the in Gemara. We'll go back. So now the Rebbe brings down that we actually find in the Gemara a machlokes between Reish Lakish and Rabbi Yochanan, which, according to some Mefarshim, Reish Lakish and Rabbi Yochanan are arguing whether there will be nations in the world when in the future, La'asid Lavoi. So that, according to those Mefarshim, we still have an opinion. We have the opinion of Rabbi Yochanan about this prophecy. Um, about this prophecy that we brought down before from the Nevuah of Zechariah, that means that the nations of the world will be cut off. But over there in the Gemara, some Mefarshim learn that this, whether the nations of the world will be cut off or not, is part of the machlokes of Rabbi Yochanan and Reish Lakish. So while this would answer, the Rebbe says that according to Reish Lakish, who holds that the nations of the world will be cut off,